Hey guys, welcome back. This is Neon. This is more gaming news on DREZZED. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff today. I guess we're going to talk about Dragon Age sales, or the lack of sales numbers. We're going to talk about Marvel Rivals. We're going to talk about the controversy around Avowed, the bigotry that fuels the anti-woke campaign. We're going to talk about some trailers for some new games. Moonlighter 2 is coming out. I'm actually pretty excited about that. The first one was pretty good, so we'll take a look at that. Maybe take a look at the trailer for that and see where everything goes, guys. Yeah. So before we get into it any further, guys, give us a sub if you haven't done so already. Check out clownfish-.com. We got some merch out there, and we talk about that. You can also get exclusive content. You can go out to clownfishtv.locals.com. Also, we mirror that content out there. So where are we going to start? I think we're going to start with that Dragon Age the Veilguard, which I have zero interest in playing, but a lot of people are messing around with the character creation, and I guess it's not going so well for them. They were bragging about how well this game was going to sell. It was going to be this massive hit, and I know a lot of game journals were like, neener, chuds, this game is selling so well, and apparently it's not selling well at all. Grum's put this up, and I'm going to go out to the original article, but yeah, apparently the head of the game won't reveal the sales numbers for the game. This is coming from GameRanks. Dragon Age the Veilguard head won't reveal sales numbers for the game. That's not a good sign. They said, yeah, there was a time when BioWare was one of the greatest video game developers ever, and that was not hyperbole. The game crafted one incredible RPG after another, and now they're just like falling flat, man. They're just not doing very well. They said that, Dragon Age the Veilguard came out and it became one of its most divisive titles. That's not hyperbole either. Even before the game launched, details that BioWare gave out didn't feel right with how players felt the next title should be, especially after the success of the previous entry, an entry that had won Game of the Year by many pundits, including the Game Awards. Oh, the Game Awards, everybody, the Game Awards. Dragon Age the Veilguard had story beats and ongoing plot lines that were cut to craft something new. The game's feel was also different, and many didn't resonate with it. Look, let's cut the crap. Dragon Age the Veilguard is woke. It went woke. It went DEI. You know, we've got pronoun usage and the whole thing, right? I mean, there's a whole subplot about gender ideology in this game, and people are just tired of it. They're tired of it. So that's why they're not buying it, because there are a lot of other games you can buy that are so much better. And we're going to talk about Marvel Rivals, which is incredibly surprising, but not really when you think about where it came from, because I'm seeing a pattern here. But here's the director. The director is Corinne Bush. They were talking to Eurogamer. They said, unfortunately, on the sales side, that's not something we can discuss, but of course, as we know with Inquisition, that was a long burn to get to those total sales numbers. It's not a good answer. After all, why can't they discuss it? If they said that they don't have solid sales numbers right now due to digital sales and totals not being counted in full yet, that would be one thing and mostly believable. However, she's saying that they can't discuss it, and that raises all sorts of red flags. Yeah, because it's another Western AAA disaster. Just as important, while the last entry did sell 10 million and was a slow burn to get there, it got there because it had a great launch to kick things off. With that response, it seems clear this new entry didn't have that at all. Yeah, I think for 100% this game is not doing very well. Here's an article from Bounding in the Comics. Dragon Age the Veilguard devs reflect on game's release, say they're quite proud of the critical reception, but admit that the sales are struggling. Imagine that, guys. I can't imagine why these sales are struggling for Dragon Age. In an attempt to spin their game's less than stellar reception, Dragon Age the Veilguard game director Corinne Bush and series creative director John Epler say that despite the mixed feelings players had toward the fantasy RPG's latest entry, the overwhelming amount of positive praise it received from the mainstream media is something they and their team are proud of. We're proud of it, guys. It doesn't matter if we burnt hundreds of millions of dollars. We're very proud of our game. They offered their thoughts on the divisive title's wider reputation during a post-release interview given to Eurogamer. This is the same interview, right? Yeah, so they get so close to it. We focus on the day-to-day of it. And of course, we're playing and we're mindful of the overall experience. We know what we've got, but there's something, even when you go through the preview events that have smaller hands-on demos, there's nothing quite like players getting it in their hands or reviewers playing through the game for the first time. Wasn't somebody, I think we talked about in the last gaming news roundup, that somebody was actually banned from getting review copies from BioWare because they were critical of their games or something. It's like, yeah, they don't want honest reviews. Yeah, so they said it was interesting reading the reviews just to see the variety of what people were engaging with, what people were bouncing off of maybe, and pulling some of that feedback early on. Because again, as Corinne says, we're so close to the game, so close to the project, it's hard to take that step back and look at it through that lens. That's actually true. I mean, you work on something and you think it's good, or you release it and then you kind of look at it later and you're like, yeah, I could have done this differently or that differently. Yeah, but right now, like, look, the main issue with all Western AAA games is that people don't trust them for a variety of reasons. It's not just the politics; it's also the quality of the games. And we've got Ubisoft out there, and we're going to talk about Ubisoft because things aren't looking too good for them either. This is like the negative news podcast, but it's actually good news too, because what we're seeing is more and more positive news coming from Asian developers, from Asian countries, kind of like it used to be, right? The Japanese games were always like the best games. And the Japanese now are listening to California, and they should not do that to their own peril, their own detriment. They can listen to California. But we're seeing the Western AAA gaming space just kind of light itself on fire, douse itself in kerosene, and gamers are rejecting these games. It doesn't matter how much money you throw at them. And even if the games are okay, like I know Indiana Jones, I'm hearing the reviews are pretty good actually on the Indiana Jones game, but I don't know how it's going to sell or how it's going to perform because people are soured against Lucasfilm and Indiana Jones in general. That whole debacle with the last movie, it didn't do very well, and they just don't trust Western developers anymore. So even if the game is really, really, really good, it might get buried underneath, a bunch of other stuff just because, gamers are choosing to close their wallets, right? It sounds very cliche, like, well, it closed, but it's true. It's 100% true. This game's not selling very well. BioWare claims Dragon Age the Veilguard sales have reached 1 million copies. This was like a month ago, and I know all these journos were like, good luck, guys. Chud's doing great. Yeah, it's probably doing about as great as Star Wars Outlaws. It's probably doing just as good as Star Wars Outlaws. And the thing is, I don't know if anybody's going to remember this game in a couple of months. I don't know if anybody's going to remember Star Wars Outlaws in a year. I don't think Assassin's Creed Shadows, speaking of Ubisoft, I don't think that they are... I don't think that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to do very well at all. So let's talk about Ubisoft, since we're going there. This is coming from Video Game Chronicle. Tencent reportedly wants a greater say over Ubisoft as investment discussions continue. Yeah, this could be part of the reason why they're pushing games back. Because Tencent's looking at them like, yeah, you guys are really effing it up. I mean, big time. You guys are definitely messing things up. And Tencent actually owning Ubisoft like completely might be a good thing. We're going to talk about Chinese games, and Chinese games are actually giving players what they want. And you can think what you want about the Chinese government or censorship or whatever, but the Chinese companies are doing very, very well because they're giving players what they want. They're rolling the clock back a little bit. We're getting big bouncy boobs and big booties and all that stuff. And we're getting proper Asian Psylocke, which I'm shocked about. And we'll get there. We're getting there. Video Games Chronicles. Tencent reportedly wants a greater say over Ubisoft as investment discussions continue. They're reportedly discussing a deal to take the company private in October. No thanks. I don't need this. In October, Bloomberg sources claim the Chinese conglomerate, which owns around 10% of Ubisoft, have been speaking with the current owners. Is it the Guillaume brothers? To explore a way to stabilize Ubisoft. Well, putting games out that people actually want to buy would be a step in the right direction. Those discussions are said to have included the possibility of the pair teaming up to take Ubisoft private, although talks were said to be in an early stage. According to Reuters, on Friday, there are claims that Ubisoft shareholders are considering how to structure a possible buyout of the company without reducing the family's control. Tencent is claimed to be undecided over whether to participate in the buyout and increase its stake in the company, reportedly because it asked for a greater say on future board discussions. So I think what's going on is they're going to look at the games that they're going to release and they're going to be like, are these games going to sell or are the games not going to sell? Because if the games aren't going to sell, you're not going to dump $200, $300, $400 million into some DEI infused fever dream, right? And Tencent is a Chinese company, and they're probably going to look at it and they're going to be like, yeah, this not enough boobs, guys, not enough boobs. This isn't going to work. According to Reuters, discussions between the two are ongoing as Tencent also wants to prevent any potential hostile takeover by other investors. Who would want it? Seriously, who would want it? You've damaged all of your brands. You know, who would want it? It's just kind of like Lucasfilm with Star Wars. Like, who would want it at this point? You've completely devalued this company. We remain committed to making decisions in the best interests of all of our stakeholders. In this context, as we have already indicated, the company is also reviewing all of its strategic options. They got to do something. Like all these AAA studios, I'm like, are they all going to congeal into like one blob, right? Like, was it Infogrames? They bought like everything back in the early 2000s. Like, is that going to happen? Is that going to happen again? Are we going to have like all these companies get, you know, just absorbed into each other or shut down or whatever? Because I mean, it's all imploding, right? Let's tell you what, we'll wrap up the bad news and then we'll get to the good news, and that's Marvel Rivals. What's this? This is Kotaku, which is still a thing somehow. Just wait. I don't think it's going to be for much longer. The campaign against Avowed reveals the bigotry that fuels the anti-woke. In its crusade against Obsidian's action RPG, the anti-DEI mob has given the game away. Oh no. Oh my god, this is a scam? Wait, okay. So in 2024, there's rarely been a game announced without a small but tiresomely vocal group of grifters attempting to whip up a controversy for their social media followers. No, these are gamers taking a look at upcoming releases, and they're noticing that there are some obvious DEI mandates in play, or the game doesn't look very good, or the people associated with the game are garbage people. And you're allowed to make those observations. If you can make them on the right side of history, on the left side or whatever, why can't you say on the other side, like, as a gamer, I have concerns about this game. This game looks not good. This game looks rushed. This game looks incredibly woke, and I'm just not interested, you know, for whatever reason. I mean, you're allowed to make those observations. That doesn't make you a grifter. Here's the thing. If it was just grifters, if it's just a vocal minority, how come the sales are so bad? How come the sales are so bad? Because most people don't go to X. Most people don't watch these YouTube videos about, you know, people complaining about video games all the time and the wokeness and the DEI and all that. They just look at the game for what it is and they're like, yeah, this game looks like crap. It just looks like crap. I don't want to buy it. No matter what the title, no matter who the developer, every announcement is meticulously scrutinized for any faint sign of a thought crime, an element that could be construed by these charlatans as proof of wokeness, something that they can decry as a DEI initiative. And then this speculative notion is spun out to followers as the latest attempt to take away your games. The latest target is Avowed. But in picking on it, those running the grift have rather shown their hand. Oh my God. Like any scam of note, oh my God, the shtick. What the hell? I'm not even gonna read this. This is Kotaku being angry. This is Kotaku being angry that nobody's reading their stuff anymore. This I thought was interesting. So as they're complaining about that, they're like, yeah, Concord flopped and nobody talked about it. Kotaku talked about it. So look, we're going to put this into perspective. If these are just grifters and these are just a vocal minority of people and they don't speak for actual gamers, then why did Concord flop? Because they shouldn't have dissuaded people from buying the game, right? They don't have the influence to dissuade people from buying the game. Why did Suicide Squad flop? It was part of the Arkham series. It should have sold just on brand recognition alone, and it didn't. Maybe normies are taking a look at these games that are coming out from these studios and they're deciding they don't want them. I mean, it really is that simple. It's really that simple. That's not a grift. That's just people deciding they don't want to spend money on modern Western games. So let's talk about where the action is right now. Let's talk about Marvel Rivals doing incredibly well. And I did not see this coming. I'm going to be honest. I didn't see this coming. I didn't expect it to do that well. I'm like, oh God, it's another Marvel game, and this one's just kind of ripping off Overwatch. But people are like, no, it's actually very, very good, and it's actually better than Blizzard is doing. And speaking of Blizzard, we'll get there. Some of the people at Blizzard are very salty about this game. But this is coming from PC Gamer. Marvel Rivals just launched, and it already has more than 400,000 players, and the numbers keep going up. That was 2 days ago. It's like one of the biggest launches on Steam ever, I guess. NetEase's free-to-play hero shooter, which I will always think of as Marvel Rivals after hearing my English coworkers mangle the pronunciation, is having a good launch day. When I started writing this story, Marvel Rivals had just passed 360,000 concurrent players according to SteamDB. Now it's looking at 400,000. What's that now? Yeah, 428,000 players right now. All-time peak, 444,000. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. Though it's been dogged by comparisons to Overwatch, including some from Blizzard's former president, Marvel Rivals has clearly found its audience, even though they can't help but make comparisons. Looking at Steam reviews, currently sitting in mostly positive, sentiments like better than Overwatch are common. I hope it doesn't go through the same fate as Overwatch, but people who make Overwatch porn work harder than people who make Overwatch. Yeah, Overwatch got lazy. Like, it launched strong, and it was a good game at launch, and it's actually Squid King. It's his favorite game, or one of his favorite games. He's been playing it nonstop since it launched. I mean, he was pretty young when it came out, and he used to get so mad because we had crappy like home Comcast internet, and he'd keep getting disconnected. He'd get booted, and he'd get really angry about it. Let's just put it that way. But no, he still plays Overwatch 2, but he's not liking it, and I think he's going to jump ship for Marvel. Part of the appeal, beyond the fact it's got Spider-Man in it, is that it seems slightly more generous than its competitors. For instance, if you pay for the Battle Pass, you'll be able to earn its rewards even after the season expires. Matches are 6v6. So yeah, player numbers are important. It's doing better than Concord, guys. So here's what I'm looking at. Why can't we have this in the comic books anymore? Why can't we have proper Psylocke in the comics anymore? Like, is it too much to ask for? They had to go back to making her Western because it was cultural appropriation to have Betsy Braddock, her mind inside of an Asian assassin, even though that is the version of Psylocke 99% of people know. I do not like the current Marvel Comics version of Psylocke. And the thing is that you look at the characters and they look like themselves. Like, they look like idealized versions of themselves. And if they look like this in the comic books, like, look, yeah, compare Squirrel Girl from the game to Squirrel Girl in the comic book. It's like the characters look awesome. Again, Marvel needs to take notes. They really need to take notes for what to do in the comics. And I guess they're going to do tie-in comics for it. They're doing new variant covers. That's kind of cute. Peach Momoko variant cover for Marvel Rivals. Yeah, but they need to go back to these designs. Do this in the comics, Marvel, and you'll be fine, because we talk a lot about comic books on the main Clownfish TV channel. And the comics are suffering horrendously. And but the reason I think that the game is doing so well, or that the game is as good as it is because it's being developed in China. I'm gonna be honest. It's, you look at Black Myth Wukong, look at all of these games that are coming out of China. Look at Genshin Impact. They know what players want. They know what will appeal to the largest audience possible. They don't care about the DEI and the wokeness and the woke points and the whatever. They don't care. They're like, will this bring players to our game? Will this sell units? Will this inspire in-app purchases? Will we make money? And that's what you need to be asking yourself. You put a game out there, you spend $400 million on a game. Will we make money back? Look at this Storm. Is this what Storm looks like? Like, look, these comic books would sell. Have you seen the X-Men comics lately? Seriously, guys. So yeah, here's the former Blizzard president, Mike, is it Ybarra? Is that how you pronounce his name? I always thought it was Ybarra. Calls Marvel Rivals an Overwatch clone, and he got a community note for it. Said, looks like Overwatch Marvel Rivals ships tomorrow, much like Light of Motirum, clear copy of HZD out of China. I mean, even the character name, Widowmaker versus Black Widow. LOL. NetEase, Tencent, all the same. Actually, maybe the best thing that could happen at Ubisoft is if Tencent takes it over. At least gamers will get what they want. You know? I mean, I'm just saying. And if people have a problem with copycat games, then they just won't buy them. But I think people would take a good copycat game over some DEI-infused fever dream. I mean, that's from where I'm sitting, that's what it looks like. Readers added context. Yeah, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, is a popular Marvel superhero who made her comic debut in '64, more than 50 years before Overwatch and Widowmaker were created. The poster is spreading misinformation. Ouch, she got community noted? That's not good. Yeah, these are great designs. I mean, they're very video gamey, but like if the Marvel comics look this good, and we kept the characters in character, I think that they could turn it around. It's just my opinion. So anyway, I am going to wrap it up with a trailer, and I haven't watched this yet. Moonlighter 2 is coming out. Do you guys remember the first one? I thought it was pretty good. It's kind of a Zelda-style game. But here's the trailer for it. Let's take a look at this, and then we're going to close out this video.
The life of a merchant should be easy. Yours is not. And yet, you want more. You seek wealth. A golden future for your friends. Does your ambition meet no end? Tell me, little merchant, how much can you take?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. There's actually a lot of really good looking indie titles coming out, a lot of reissues coming out, a lot of amazing AAA titles coming out. You don't need Western AAA games. I'm just saying, there's so much coming out that looks good that I think gamers are basically just ignoring the stuff that doesn't look good. And a lot of stuff that doesn't look good is the stuff they spent the most amount of money on, So we're going to have a very, very different gaming industry, I think, in 2 years. I'd say 2 years' time. So anyway, please subscribe, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk later.